In view of the likely future changes in the demographic makeup of Singapore, the size of our reserves, the needs of our society and our population, will the government not, at some point in the future, and I know that it's hard to specify when, will the government not consider evolving the position on the treatment of reserves in line with the changing of conditions, or is it something that is set in stone and cannot be changed? That's my first point of clarification. The second point for the Minister, would the Minister acknowledge that there are costs on the other side of the equation? The more future governments have to raise things like GST, the more that raises economic pressure and potentially anxieties experienced by Singaporeans, and the more that can affect other things which are important for the country and also important for economic growth, like TFR, which I think, as we've said, is an existential issue for Singapore, like entrepreneurship, like risk-taking, long terms of innovation and things like that. And if we give more room to those things, might there also not be the possibility that these things could raise economic growth and therefore raise revenue further down the line? Thank you.
Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I've learned in government to say never. As I mentioned earlier, we are prepared to listen to different views. We are prepared to listen to different proposals. And when these proposals come, we will always be prepared to review our policies. But my point on the NIRC rules is this, that this was debated at length only not too long ago. We went through this discussion in this House, debated thoroughly the points, and we settled on a framework that we think best meets the needs of both current and future generations and balances that fairly. And we decided to enshrine these rules in the Constitution. Let's not be so quick to rush the minute we need money and say, can we tweak the rules again? So that's on the first point. On the second point, would cost of government impose a drag on the economy? Yes, for sure it will. If the government budget, which means the revenues that we need to collect to meet the budget, balloons to 25% of GDP, 30% of GDP, 40% of GDP in some European countries, for sure it will be a drag on the economy. So what I would very much like to hear from members of this House, if you think that this is a concern, please let us have proposals not to spend more, which we keep hearing, but to spend less for a change.